Hello friends, welcome to another video. So if you've noticed, I am filming in a different spot today than usual. I'm filming in our van, which if you've been following me for a little while, you know that this is a fairly new van for us and it's one of my favorite places to be. So I thought I would do a video in here today for a couple of reasons. First of all, Annabella's napping and it's a lot easier lately to film when she's napping because she is everywhere. And secondly, my mom is visiting from out of town, so she could stay in the house with the baby while we film. So what better place to go than the van? So I thought I would do a video here for you guys today. I'm really excited about this video because we're actually gonna do a tag video. Tag videos are basically where I will answer some questions so you guys can get to know me better. I figured, that we should do this because I've had a few new subscribers lately, and so I want you guys to know who you're watching, a little bit more about me. So this is the mommy tag. I was not actually tagged to do this, like not specifically. However, I got this video from a channel that I really love. I'm going to link her down below. Her name is Ashleigh Nicole Wilson. She is amazing, you guys. She is a mama of 7 and she has such great wisdom and insight that she shares on her channel. And she did this tag maybe about a year ago, I can't remember, but I just found it. And she tagged all the mamas who watched the video to do it. So I consider myself tagged to do the mommy tag. So I'm going to do this for you guys right now. And also, stay tuned till the end of this because I had mentioned in a couple videos ago that I want to answer some of your questions because we hit 700 subscribers. So I want to do a Q&A. And I waited a couple weeks, didn't get very many questions, but I have a couple. And that's okay. I'm glad to have any. So I'm just going to throw the answers to a couple questions at the end of this tag. So stay tuned if you want to know some answers to your personal questions. All right. Well, let's get into this mommy tag. These are 20 questions I'm going to answer that a bunch of mommies here on YouTube have done. So I have my amazing husband here. If you do not know, I am a mama who is totally blind. So I have never seen anything in my life, so I don't read print, I read Braille, but my Braille note taker broke. May he rest in peace. So now I have my husband here to read me each question. So he's also the cameraman and the question reader. So babe, here we go with question 1. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, question 1.
How old were you when you had your first child?
I was actually 27 when I had my Annabella, which is my only child right now. I had her September 13th of 2018. I was 27 and a half. I turned to 28 that following February of 2019. Question 2.
What was the hardest thing about being pregnant for 9 whole months?
Actually, my pregnancy was fairly easy. I'm so blessed, you guys. I didn't have morning sickness really or anything like that. For me though, the hardest part of my pregnancy was my anxiety. And the reason for that is because if you guys didn't know this about me, Annabella was actually my second pregnancy. I was pregnant exactly a year before her with our first baby, who's now in heaven. So we miscarried that babe when I was about 8 or 9 weeks along. And so this next pregnancy I had with Annabella, so my past pregnancy, was filled with a lot of fear. And I would say that was the hardest thing. Being pregnant after a miscarriage is always a hard thing. And I'm not the only mama who has struggled with that. Sometime I should do a video on that because, you guys, it is a whole journey to be pregnant after a loss. And so I would say that's my hardest part, was just the fear and the anxiety of not knowing if my baby would be okay. It got better as the weeks went on, but it was definitely hard the first trimester or 2. I would say that's probably the hardest thing. Okay, next question.
What was your favorite thing about being pregnant?
I love this. So this is probably the answer for most mamas, but my favorite part was the baby kicks. Like, you guys, there's nothing like it. Oh my goodness. Like, I started feeling her, I think, when I was about 18 weeks. I think I had just turned 18 weeks when I first felt the kick and I knew it was her. And you guys, I just would almost cry. And sometimes I did cry every time I felt it because it was the most amazing feeling. I would literally look forward to laying in my bed because that's when she would kick. And I would just sit there for like hours and just feel her. And it was just the most amazing thing. And I cannot wait for that to happen again one day. So that was definitely the best part. Okay, next question.
In your opinion, were all the things you heard about childbirth accurate?
I would say, this is a loaded question. I would say no. Yes and no, but I would mostly say no. I think that, you hear it's going to be painful. which, yes, it's painful. I did get an epidural, but I did feel my labor up till about 5 centimeters, and it was definitely painful. But a lot of times, a lot of things that I heard were that it's just the worst experience ever, and it's like torture, and, you know, it's stressful, which it can be stressful, but you guys, I think a lot of the information that we're given is not accurate. Because a lot of times, I think, this is just my opinion, I feel like people like to scare women. Like, because I feel like I would always hear somebody's scary birth story. Like, while I was pregnant, like, someone would be like, oh my gosh, my labor was like 40 hours and I pushed for 10 hours, which that's really not, that's exaggeration. But I did know of someone who pushed for 5 hours, and that's a long time. And so I was like scared before I gave birth because of the things I heard. And yes, I got an epidural. Yes, it was painful. Yes, there was some stress, you know, going to the hospital. But it was definitely not as bad as what people said it was. It was beautiful. And so now I just make it a point that, like, next time I'm pregnant, I'm just not going to listen to the negative birth stories. And if I hear them, I'm just going to take them with a grain of salt, because everyone has different experiences, and mine was wonderful. And so I would say, like, maybe focus on the positive experiences, because I think there's just far too much negativity surrounding it, and there should be more positivity. That was a long answer, but we can move on. Are we on question 4?
That was 4.
So now we're on 5. Okay, let's move on. Question 5, baby.
Would you have handled childbirth differently if you could redo it?
Yes. Now, this is also a loaded question, so I'll keep it brief. And I'm sorry if I'm talking fast, but there's a lot to get through. Yes. And I like this question a lot, because I feel like this question needs to be asked of mamas more often, and there needs to be more education surrounding childbirth. First of all, there is nothing wrong, I want to say this first, with the epidural. Nothing wrong at all. If you got an epidural, you're still amazing, and you're still a hero for pushing out a baby. Honestly, mamas who push out babies, no matter how, even C-section mamas, amazing. It's such a miracle, okay? So I am not saying anything bad about the epidural. It's fine. And I do not regret getting the epidural with my Annabella. However, I probably wouldn't have, only because of how much I'm still paying it off. Okay, because something they don't tell you about the epidural is that if your insurance doesn't cover the whole thing, you'll be paying it off for a few years afterward. Okay, I'll just say that much. So I'm still paying off the epidural. So that's one reason why I would not do it. And that's just one thing I would change, maybe. I think the epidural was good because I had really bad back labor, so I was thankful for the relief. But yeah, I don't think I would get it next time. And something else I would do differently is I wouldn't be so anxious. I think, and it's easy for me to say now that I've done it, but I know a lot of first-time mamas, just there's so much anxiety surrounding childbirth, like I said about the last question, that I feel like sometimes it can take away from the moment. I remember when I first had labor pains, I was so anxious. I was like, man, when should I go to the hospital? I don't know. Is this really labor? And I was just so anxious. And I think what I would do next time is just trust the Lord and trust my body and trust the process and just be calm as best I can, because obviously it's hard when you're in pain, but just to trust the Lord. And I think I would worship more instead of worry. And that's something I'm working on in my life in general, is to worship instead of worry. So I think that that is definitely something that I would have changed. But yeah, so what about question number 6, my love?
What would be your advice to someone about to have a baby?
Ooh, well, I would say do your research. Just going along with these last 2 questions, I didn't do my research. And like I said, I listened to a lot of the negativity surrounding childbirth, and so I was very anxious. And I also didn't do my research on natural birth. And so I think part of me didn't think that I could do it without an epidural. I thought, oh, it's just a given, I'm gonna need it. But if I would have done my research, I would have realized that yes, the epidural is fine, and it's definitely a gift for some women, but I would have realized that the Lord made our bodies to do this, and that I have the strength from Him and from His Holy Spirit to be able to do it. And I think I just would have done more research on natural birth in general. And so maybe if you're about to have a baby and you want to have a natural birth, do more research. If you want to have an epidural, that's totally fine. But just do your research. Just know about what you're about to do. Know about the process. Know what to expect at the hospital. Like, read up on it. Watch videos on it. If there's anything you want to know, ask me, because I will tell you. It's just good to know what you're going to get into. And I would also say, just be ready for no sleep. Like, be ready for it. And everyone says that, but it's true. be ready for it and just embrace it because it is so worth it. Okay, question number 7.
What has been the hardest thing about being a mom?
Ooh, these are good questions. Okay, I would say that the hardest thing so far, I've only been a mama for a year and a half, but the hardest thing about being a mom is when my baby girl is upset and feeling like there's nothing I can do. And I think I've said this before here on my channel. It's hard for me when my little love is upset because she's just so precious to me. And she's my daughter, she's my baby, and I'm always thinking about how I can make her life better. And so when she's crying and I feel like there's nothing I can do, it's just so hard. So I would say that's probably the hardest part. And the next one.
What's been the most rewarding thing about being a mom?
Ooh, I would say, there's too many things. Oh my goodness. But I think the most rewarding thing, oh man, I have to narrow it down. I have like 3 things in my head right now. But I would say the most rewarding thing is just being like, just that feeling you get when you hold your baby in your arms and they want you. Like when my baby wants me and needs me and I know that I can meet the need that she has. Like actually, I'm still breastfeeding my little one, and to me I think that actually has been the most rewarding thing because I'm meeting a need that she has and I feel like I'm giving her something that she both needs and wants. And so I think that that's been my favorite thing, is just like being able to provide her with breast milk, and being able to be that source for her and that comfort for her. So yeah, I would say that's probably what it is. Okay, my love, question number 9? 9. Wow, okay.
What is the most surprising thing you've discovered about being a mom?
Surprising? I think I would have to say that the most surprising thing is how much I can actually survive on no sleep. And when I say this, I mean, obviously, I knew I wasn't going to get sleep. Like I said, it's just something people say and it's true. But the first year of my Annabella's life, she's now about to be 18 months, which is crazy. But the first year, I didn't sleep. I don't think I slept more than like 3 hours at a time. I would get up a lot with her, sometimes more, but it was very rare. And so the first year, I hardly got any sleep. And especially the first 6 months. And so, you know, and when she napped, she only slept on my chest. Sometimes I'd have to go rock her for hours to get her to sleep. So it was definitely a journey. But I was able to survive. I mean, thank you, Jesus, for coffee. But like, I mean, before I had her, when I would not get my 8 hours of sleep, I was a zombie. Like, ask my husband right here, you guys. Like, I just don't handle no sleep well. And so the fact that I was able to still function and still be there for her and still have conversations and go about life and lead worship and do the things I love to do was just very, very surprising to me, if that makes sense. So I would say that's definitely the most surprising thing. All right, baby, question 10.
Halfway point.
Yeah.
What is the best memory involving your child?
Oh, this is hard. Okay. I would have to say, I mean, a lot of people might say this, and there's a lot of memories, okay? So you have to remember that I'm trying to narrow down like 17 million. But I think I would have to say that golden hour after she was born. And I talk about this with my love all the time, huh, babe? Like, when she was born, and I was really sad we weren't able to really get video of this because our hospital had rules about how much footage we were allowed to get, so we didn't really video any of her birth. We just did audio. But so she was born, and we told our family it was very important to us to just have 1 hour. I think it was an hour. It felt like an hour. Just me and Rich and the baby, and of course the nurses and stuff. But that time was so precious. Like, I can remember, like, we were singing to her, we were talking to her. She stopped crying almost immediately after hearing our voices, and Richard was like explaining her features to me, and it was just the sweetest moment of my entire life, and I will never forget it. And it's a little blurry now just because, like, it was such a powerful moment. And sometimes those moments, like almost like my wedding day, feel kind of blurry after the fact, but there are definitely some memories from that moment that are so sharp, and I will never forget. Just her first cry, the first time I felt her face, like my husband telling me what she looks like, and both of us just marveling at the goodness of God and how beautiful our baby was. So I would say that's definitely my favorite memory so far. Okay, question 11.
What's the most exciting milestone for your child?
I would say when she first called me mama. That melted my heart. And honestly, she's been saying mama for like 6 months now. And literally every time still. She'll say it 15 million times a day. And honestly, still every time she says it, my heart completely melts into a puddle. I just absolutely love it. There's nothing like it. And I hope she always calls me mama because I just love it. Question 12.
Worst thing your child has ever done.
You know, I'm not a fan of this question, and so I'm going to kind of answer it in my own way. Because first of all, I would never even tell you the worst thing she's done. I'm not going to talk negatively about my baby here. But what I will answer it is like this. The worst thing that has ever happened, you know, to her maybe, or the worst thing that she's done unintentionally, okay? You'll get what I mean when I say it. She was probably about, 10 or 11 months old. I would say maybe 11 months old. And Rich and I were at a restaurant with his boss at the time and a bunch of his coworkers. And having a good old lunch, showing off our baby to everyone because some people hadn't met her yet. And we gave her a piece of fruit that we thought was small enough for her because we were both like on either side of her feeding her. And we were just going about our business. She was loving her fruit. And then all of a sudden I just heard, babe, she's choking. And I was like, what? And it was so silent and the restaurant was so loud that we didn't know. And so, you know, Richard pulls her out of the high chair and I get up, and I honestly never yelled so loud. And so everybody in the restaurant I felt like was looking at me. And luckily the Lord was with us and Richard was able to get her to cough it up right away. But for a second there, it was the scariest moment of my life and the worst thing that's ever happened since having her, and the most worried I'd ever been as a mama, that she was choking and was silent for a minute. So that was scary, but...
Not a minute.
Okay, it felt like a minute.
Seconds.
Seconds. Yeah, probably like 5 seconds maybe. I don't know.
We weren't like talking and looking away from her.
No, it just, we noticed right away, or Richard did. But to me, you know how those times were like, it feels like an eternity. That's how it was. But you guys know what I mean. And so the Lord used my husband and we were able to get it out of her right away. Praise the Lord. But that was probably the worst thing. Anyway, question 13.
Very weird one also. What habit do you wish your children didn't have? Child.
Okay, well, right now I would just say screaming, or like more than that, maybe like she's starting to throw tantrums now, which I know is normal for her age, and so I don't really, it doesn't bother me because I'm like, oh, well, she's a year and a half. Of course she's going to throw tantrums. But it is hard for me because I'm like, I know you're upset. What do I do? And so I just wish that she would use her words more, but obviously she can't yet. And so I know that when she gets older, she will. So it's something I definitely will, it'll be fine. But I think that's the only thing right now. I'm just like, no, don't throw yourself on the ground. Just tell mama what you want, you know? So that's probably the thing. But other than that, she's amazing. Like, honestly, she's super easy. But on to the next one, my love.
What habit of theirs makes you very proud?
Oh my goodness. So many things. I would say right now, the thing that makes me the most proud is how much she already loves Jesus. Like, you guys, it's so cute. I'll tell her, I'll say, Bella, sing a song to Jesus. And she'll go, Jesus, Jesus. And we'll say, praise Jesus. And she'll put her hands up in the air. And she'll just randomly say, Jesus, mama, Jesus. And I just know she loves Jesus. And so that's the best thing I think right now. It's my favorite. And oh yeah, thank you, baby. And she knows the difference. You guys, this is crazy. Between books and Bibles. Because I have these Braille Bibles that I read to her. They have pictures in them, but they're also in Braille. And she'll just call every other book a book, but these she'll say, Mama, Bible, Jesus, Bible. And she'll ask me to read her the Bible. And I think it's just so adorable. So yeah. Okay, number 16? 15.
Do you share any similarities with your child?
Ooh, I've been told we have a similar smile. We look alike when we smile because we both kind of squint our eyes. I don't know. That's what Richard says to me, and I believe him because I could see that. As far as personality, she talks a lot, and so do I. She's very expressive and dramatic, and she talks a lot, and that's what I do as well. I'm very dramatic and love to talk, so I say that. Okay, now number 16.
Where would you like your child to be in 10 years?
Well, that's crazy to think about because she'll be 10 and a half in 10 years, right? Or 11 and a half.
Ooh, 11.
I don't even know. I don't even want to think about that. But what I would like is just for her to be following Jesus and for her to be just, yeah, maybe like, I know she loves to sing right now, I can already tell, so maybe like on a worship team or just serving the church somehow, however the Lord is calling her to do that, and yeah, just be loving and serving the Lord. So I would say that. Question number 17.
What is something that having a child has taught you?
Ooh. How selfish I am, which I would say a lot of moms do realize. I honestly didn't realize how selfish I was. Well, when I got married, I learned a little bit of that. But when I had Bella, I would say I really learned. Not only selfish, but controlling. Like I need things to be a certain way, and if they're not that way, oh man. And I actually think Ashleigh, who I'm going to link down below, said something similar, and it was interesting. But it just, like, the controlling aspect, it's just good to know I'm not alone, that other moms do realize that too, because I was kind of ashamed, like, wow, I'm controlling and self-centered, but I'm not alone, that's something that we're humans and we struggle with. And so I've learned that I really need to take a look at myself and say, you know what, this is not about me. It's about what my Annabella needs right now, and what she needs may not be what I think she needs or what I want her to need, if that makes sense. So I've had to give up a lot of control and a lot of my own ideals of what I want to happen. Still working on that. I would say I'm still learning. It's still a work in progress, and just not letting things work me up and get me anxious so easy, if that makes sense. All right, babe, question 18.
Did you imagine that you would be a mom at the age that you became a mom?
No way. I hoped and dreamed for it. I thought, okay, to be completely honest with you guys, because of my situation and the fact that I am blind, I kind of had low expectations. Like, I thought maybe I would get married at like 35. My family used to tease me. My sisters used to tell me that I was going to be a nun. Which, hey, nuns are awesome, so that's okay. But that I would never get married. Like, it was just kind of a joke, because I've always wanted to get married, but I just never thought it would happen. And so being a mom was always like a huge dream of mine, but it didn't seem like, I literally still pinch myself every day that it's actually happened, and that I'm still in my 20s. Like, I thought maybe I'd be like adopting kids when I'm 40. I don't know. It was definitely different than I thought, and I'm very grateful for that. So, question 19.
Describe your child with a single sentence.
Oh, this is so hard. Okay. Annabella Joy Hicks is the most beautiful and precious baby I've ever seen, with a fuzzy head and cute chubby cheeks, and it's a run-on sentence, and I love her with my whole heart. Okay, that was a run-on sentence. Question 20, the last question for this tag.
How have you changed as a person since becoming a mom?
I would say it's hard because I feel like I'm still changing. I feel like I'm like in the process of being sanctified by the Lord right now, and I'm kind of in the thick of it. So it's hard to say how I've changed. Might be a better question for my husband. But I would say that I have become more in tune, like almost like I have more discernment, because before she was born, like, I don't know, I thought I knew, maybe, like, I thought I had some discernment, but now I can, like, tell just by the way she says my name, or the way she, like, whines, oh, she's hungry, oh, she needs this or that. So I've kind of learned to be more discerning of what my daughter needs and more in tune. I've never really been so in tune with someone before. It's been really interesting. But I think, like I said in a few questions ago, I think anxiety is a big part of motherhood for me, and so I'm learning, and I feel like I have learned that it doesn't solve anything to be anxious, and that peace is my ultimate goal. And I'm not going to say that I've learned it, because I'm not there yet. But I'm learning to be more peaceful, and I have learned to be more discerning and in tune with what my daughter needs. Does that make sense? Right, babe? Makes sense? Okay. Well, there you go. 20 questions, all about motherhood. If you are a mama watching this, I tag you to do this as well. And I also want to tag a couple other people, just in case they may not watch this, but if they do, I want to tag Frankie from FG and Baby. She's a wonderful channel. She has 2 little adorable girls, and so yeah, if you're watching this, I would love to hear your answers, as well as Gabby from the channel Mrs. Farrington. She has 3 little girls, and they're beautiful. She just had one recently, and so if you're watching this, Gabby, I would love to hear your answers. And like I said, any other mama who wants to answer these questions, do it and let me know you've done it so I can go and hear your videos as well. Okay, really, really quick. I have just 3 questions to answer from you, my wonderful subscribers who I'm so thankful for. So I don't have the names offhand because I'm doing this from memory, but I have the questions. So the first question I got was someone wanted to know how the training was at the school that I got my guide dog from. I'm going to do more like intensive video on this, but for now I'll just say I got her from Guide Dogs of America. It's in Sylmar, California, which is in Southern California. And I think it's technically in LA County. And the training was good. It was, usually I think their classes are 4 weeks long, but for retrains, which she was my second dog, so I was considered a retrain, I stayed for 3 weeks. So after 21 days, I graduated and was able to go home with my dog. And the training was great. It was literally, the schedule was tight. We'd get up, have breakfast, go do our morning workout, come back, have lunch, have a lecture or an afternoon workout, and then dinner, and then playtime with our dogs, and free time, and then bed. So it was very like similar to most guide dog schools. I would say the main difference is that we had less people in our class, so I feel like I got a lot more time because I went to a different school for my first dog, and so I feel like I got a lot more time with my instructor, so it was very amazing, and I feel like I learned a lot. So I hope that kind of answers your question. It's kind of a long question, so I think I'm going to make a video more about that process, but I do have a video on this channel, and I'll try to link it down below. I'll try to remember. It's called, I think, the guide dog tag or the training school tag, that I talk a little bit more about my school and my experience, so I will link that down below. It was created by Joy Hugh, and I loved doing it, so yeah, I'll hopefully remember to do that. Okay, next question. Someone wanted to know how, because I just moved here I moved to Montana in October from Southern California, so it's been quite a weather change, and someone wanted to know how I've been adjusting to the snow and traveling in the snow. Well, here's the truth about that. So when we first came here, it did snow a few times. We had a few blizzards. I just stayed in the house, honestly, and got warm. But then I would go out and feel it because I love snow. And that was actually one of my favorite parts about moving here, was the snowy weather. But here's the truth. We've had one of the most warm winters Montana's ever had, I think.
Only here.
Yeah.
Only in the city.
Yeah, in the city we're in and a few other cities. So I haven't really had a lot of experience traveling in the snow. I have a little bit. And my dog tends to do okay. She likes the snow. I think her feet get a little cold, so I might need to get some of that like protective wax just to make it a little easier on her. But I haven't really traveled longer than a few minutes in the snow with her, so I don't know yet. I'll have to kind of answer that as it goes because it hasn't snowed much. And when it does snow, I don't usually go out. I just kind of play in it with my daughter or my dog, and then I stay indoors. So I haven't really had experience, but I'm sure I will, and I will be sure to let you know when I do. And then the last question I got from one of you amazing people is that they want to know how I became a Christian. And that's, again, also a long video, but I just want to say briefly, I was 4 years old, which, yes, I was young. There were actually 2 different times I accepted Jesus, which is interesting. The first time I was 4, and it was because my sister went to a play. She was 6, and she went to a play called Heaven's Gatehouse Fire, which I actually ended up going to a few years later, and I'll cover that in a minute. But she went to it, and that night she ran to the altar after that play and accepted Jesus. And so I, at that age, was copying everything she did. And so I accepted Jesus that night too. I was in my bed. I called my mom in. I said the prayer. It was done. And I believe I was saved at that time. But I was also 4 years old. And so when I was about 10, so it was like 5 or 6 years later, I believe I had a real experience. I went to that same play my sister went to called Heaven's Gatehouse Fire. Basically, it's like an acting of heaven and hell. Like, they have people who die, and some go to heaven, some go to hell, and they it's really dramatic. Like, when someone goes to hell, like the demons run out, and like there's like weird voices. It's a little dramatic, and I was very young, so I was scared. But the heaven parts were really cool. And so after the play, they did an altar call, and I went to the altar, and I really believe that was my real I want to be saved moment. And from that moment on, I have walked with the Lord, and it's been amazing. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you to the 3 of you who left questions. You know who you are. I have forgotten your screen names, but I really appreciate you so much. And again, I want to thank all of you who have just been watching my videos and following our family. You guys are amazing. I hope you enjoyed this long tag video, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. If you liked it, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more from me, I make motherhood and lifestyle videos here every week, so please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss anything. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.